All right, so since we were talking about graphs, right? So let me give this heading graphs. In this video, in the last video, we actually talked about how to plot a graph, and that was particularly a line graph. In this video, we'll be talking about why graphs are important and also the types and various uses of graphs, right? So, for example, you want to monitor your improvement of a particular skill or game that you play, and you want to know how your rating in that game increased in past a couple of months or maybe a couple of years or whatever the time interval you want to take, then you can actually take the line graph, right? Because line graph is particularly good in order to you know see the variation of something over time. So if you see a line like this, like like this, you actually plotted all those points and you saw a line to go like this, for example, right? So you could just say, okay, my improvement was pretty much good. I improved and then I just went down here and then I just improved again and then there was a huge decline and then there's a sharp increase in my performance of something. So a line graph could be used to tell you about your journey, how actually you went through a interval of time. Or you could just say, for example, if you traveled from one place to another and you want to see how your speed varied throughout that journey, so you could say, okay, in first few kilometers my speed increased, then it decreased, then it increased again, then there was a huge decrease probably because of traffic, and then there was no traffic and the speed increased again. So this can actually show you a whole journey that you made. So line graphs are particularly important in order to understand the course of journey, how your performance went through the interval of time. However, if you're if you're interested particularly in discontinuous data, this is a continuous type of data, because you could just see that your speed increased and decreased and it was connected throughout. It just did not actually jump from all the way from 0 and went to 100 or then came back. It did not happen like that. It just went in a continuous fashion. Sometimes you might actually be uh, you know trying to, for example, I can give you an example of something where you can have a discontinuous type of data. For example, you want to know how many push-ups or how many chin-ups you, for example, do every day, right? So you could just depict it like this. For example, your rate of doing chin-ups increased. You started doing less chin-ups then, and then you did more chin-ups, and then for the next few months you did very less chin-ups, and then you did more chin-ups. But this is not the accurate way to represent a discontinuous form of data, right? So what you can do instead is draw another graph, right? And for example, you can just label months here, January, February, March, and so on. And then you can just make bars. So January again, just actually make a wider bar. And then, for example, February, then March, then April, and then so on. So this is another form of graph, but this is particularly for the discontinuous data because it exactly tells you how many push-ups you did in January, for example, 20, how many push-ups you did in February, for example, 30, how many push-ups you did in March, for example, just 10, how many push-ups you did in April, for example, 40, right? So it will tell you how many push-ups have you been doing throughout the course of your journey, but it will particularly also tell you how many push-ups you did in a particular month. For example, how many you did in March, and how many you did in April, and how many you did in February, and how many you did in January. So this type of graph is called a bar graph, right? So because it has bars, it doesn't have a line like that, so it is called a bar graph. And this is typically particularly used for uh, the discontinuous form of data, where you can just jump off from one value to another and don't need to have a continuous fashion. For example, you can't just be having a speed of 70 kilometers an hour and in the next moment you had all of a sudden 20. No, you had to go down from 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, and then 20. So it needs to go down continuously. But push-ups you just did in some push-ups, number of push-ups you did in January does not have to be linked with the number of push-ups you did in February, right? You just did 20 push-ups in January, although that's pretty less. You could actually be talking about days here, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My bad, I just came up with a very poor example of physical fitness, but never mind. In the next day you did 30 push-ups, so it doesn't have to be linked with 20. You don't have to be doing 21 next day, or you don't have to be doing 22 next day, and then 23 and then 24. You can just directly jump from 20 to 30. So data of that type is called discontinuous data. So I hope I'm able to make that difference clear between continuous data and discontinuous data. And then there are other forms of graphs like histogram, which is pretty much related to bar graphs, similar to bar graphs. We'll be actually talking about more of these graphs when we study statistics particularly, but this is an idea to give you an appreciation for how important graphs are for us and why are they important and why are there different types of graphs. For example, pie chart is also a type of graph that actually tells you the proportion of things in a particular sample space. For example, you want to know how many people speak English in a particular country. So this is the number of people that speak English, and this is the particular any other particular language. This is another language. So you want to know statistics of how many people speak particular language, and you just don't have to look into figures. It will immediately tell you, oh, there's a small proportion of people who speak particular language in a country. So statistics can be represented via graphs in various forms, and we'll be talking about many other graphs and types of graphs and their uses when we study statistics, but this is just an introduction that gives you an appreciation for the graphs, right? So I hope that makes sense.